All right, let's talk some hockey. Kaprizov signs his big deal earlier this week, and all of a sudden, these other fan bases are popping up going, what does it mean for my guy? Does it have an impact on the likes of an Eichel or an Adrian Kempe?
More on the Kempe side than Eichel. Kaprizov's deal is going to affect the winger market more than anything, and emphasis. It's going to place emphasis to a certain extent on a guy like Eichel because of the top tier talent that some of these guys are, but it's going to have more of an effect on Kempe, on Tuch, on Kyle Connor, and so on. So the numbers that you started out in the offseason, once you were able to start negotiating, a $10 million ask 2-3 months ago is probably 11 plus now for some guys. I know that in Kempe's case, I know the Kings and Kempe's agent JP Barry spoke the other day. They kind of went back at things to have a conversation, but nothing is close. It sounds like this one, barring a significant kind of turn from Kenny Holland and the Kings right now, looks like he may start the regular season without an extension, but he's okay with it. It sounds like both sides are okay with that as well. They want to get a deal done, but it sounds like this one's going to take a little bit of time as of today. So I don't think, again, no panic on any side, but this is a player that's probably going to be hovering around $11 million per year on an AAV if he's going the full term for a full 8 years. So we'll see kind of, where that comes into play. I think Kyle Connor is, certainly going to be a leg above that, probably in that 12 to 13 range on a full-term contract. And with Jack Eichel, things have been relatively slow for the most part. They've had, back and forth conversations and things like that, but the negotiation process specifically has been a little bit slow right now. So we'll see kind of where that falls in. But Eichel is probably in the 14 range, which in Vegas is, still a nice number. But in Minnesota, in Montreal, in New York, that's probably, the 15 and a half to 16 mark across the board. So we need to get used to these bigger numbers, boys, because they're going to continue to keep going up.
Yeah, Pangs. And I've been talking about that all week, just the adjustment to the new NHL and, the numbers, how much they are, the wow factor. And that being said, obviously, we look at Jackson Lacombe yesterday, the huge contract for this young defenseman. What are Habs fans thinking right now? When we look at Hutson, we talk about comparables up front. This has got to be shock and awe kind of going across the Montreal fan base.
Yeah, I know they've been going back and forth, for some time. The hope was to get something done by the start of the season. But that big ticket, that big deal, I think is going to affect things a little bit differently than the Canadians may have expected. Everybody wants to take a little sliver of a deal in Montreal to make everything work. Noah Dobson did it. He took $9.5 million. He was looking for more, but took a little bit less to sign with the Canadians because of what started really with the captain, Nick Suzuki. He took a little bit less, Caulfield a little bit less, and so on. But, I'm sure Lane Hutson will take a little bit less, but his little bit less may be a few $100,000 as opposed to anything overly significant. So, I mean, yeah, Hutz, you're right. Like, this is going to be an interesting situation for the Canadians and their fan base, because after looking at that number in Anaheim, $9 million, you're probably looking at above that for Lane Hutson if they're going full term. So is it between 9 and 9.5? Is it beyond? I'm sure some of the consideration is going to be there based on what happened with those Kaprizov talks. Getting that 17 million wasn't necessarily about just getting a bigger number. It was evening things out as the cap continues to increase year after year after year.
And that being said, right, obviously, GMs are forecasting for the future down the road, what's going to change. And one guy left out right now is Luke Evangelista in Nashville. He's the RFA left. They have $9 million in cap space. So what's the holdup on this? Is it the number? Is it the term? Because I know each player is inside are going to debate on what they want.
Yeah, this one, a lot of people are scratching their heads at this one as to why the hell this has taken so long. They had, for most of the summer, tried to focus on a 2-year contract. They started at 3 towards the beginning of the offseason, then migrated to 2 years. But the dollars have just been so off. The team has been, I know there are different reports. There was a $1 million offer. There was a $2 million. I think the numbers got jumbled. My understanding, it was just 2 years at 2.1, which is what was offered from Nashville from the start, and clearly that won't get it done. They spoke this week about a 3-year option if they wanted to go that route, to see if maybe that would entice things to get closer to the finish line. Still nothing, boys. So again, a lot of people scratching their heads on this one. I tweeted about it earlier, and I got a bunch of text messages from people around the league going, this should be easy. This should be simple, but apparently it's not. Nashville has dug their heels in on this one for whatever the reason, and they're just not close. I think a 2x3 gets this done, in and around that probably, but again, Nashville's nowhere near that figure. So unless that changes, I really wonder how much more frustrated the player and his camp are going to get before we start to hear about a trade request. It's not there yet, but I'm definitely wondering what's going on here from Nashville's side of things. They may be forcing Luke and his camp to go in that direction.
When you finish 31st in goals, why would you want to bring back a young player with 20 plus goal upside? I mean, it really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's the other thing too, with respect to the talent pool that they have in Nashville and kind of like your homebred talent that you've developed. You'd want to kind of keep those kinds of players for a decent amount of time, right? And at least to show that we're grooming our guys and we're going to bring them into the system. He's going to be part of this group moving forward. Again, just hasn't been the case. So he's back home just outside Toronto and skating and waiting, but he may have to wait a little bit longer here.
We got a comment here in our YouTube chat from TageFan7272. You can imagine who they're a fan of, but they want to ask for an update on Alex Tuch, actually. Their question was, how much could he get if he leaves Buffalo? Do you think he's going to leave Buffalo? Is this like maybe a bit of a wait-and-see thing here?
Yeah, I think it's more of that, Ty, because, look, he wants to stay. Local product. The Sabres like him. They want to figure this out. But I think the marketplace has shifted a little bit. And a lot of guys were waiting for Kaprizov to lock in and to see what that number was ultimately going to be. I mentioned Kempe's number likely going up. Connor's number has likely gone up. I think Tuch's number as well has likely gone up because of this. And I spoke to a few agents, some that don't even represent these guys, but just across the board, just to get a sense of where the market is right now. And they're saying, well, a lot of teams have to kind of readjust a little bit and kind of just soak in what the new numbers are going to be and decompress from that side of things before, continuing either negotiations or starting negotiations with other players. In this scenario, yeah, both sides want to get a deal done here, but I don't think they're that close to that level, to this point. But with the capabilities of this player, you see the numbers there and what he's able to produce. To get a power forward type that can score 30 plus on a pretty fairly consistent basis, that's going to generate a ton of interest come July if he gets to that point. And I think the Sabres know it. Maybe they don't want to go too far into the season without getting something done here, but this is going to be another big ticket and one of the bigger ones for the Sabres.
David Pagnotta going to join us every week on the show, so I'm going to put a metaphorical kind of like gun to your head here. Next time, when you join us next Thursday, Connor McDavid, signed or unsigned?
Oh, shit. I don't know. I'd just be guessing like everybody else. And Connor's going to wake up and decide what he wants to do. And, it'll be next week. It'll be in 2 months or whatnot. I still am of the belief he signed something. We'll ultimately see when that ends up being. But I think the only guy that knows, I don't think his wife knows, I don't think his agent knows, I think it's just him. He'll wake up and make that determination.
What a wild scenario that's turned into. All right, David Pagnotta from the fourth period, thanks for your time. We'll chat with you again next week.
Can't wait, boys. See ya.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.